Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two cousins who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
Hi, Monica.
You say that so quiet every week.
I'm Monica. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I just always notice when I'm editing that it's like any talking we do before we start recording will be at a normal volume, and then you'll be like, and I'm Monica.
Yeah, sorry. My name's Monica, in case you haven't heard it for the last, 18 episodes.
We are officially on episode 20!
Whoop, whoop.
That means,
We're on episode 20.
it means 5 months.
Holy crap. We've been doing this for 5 months.
Yeah.
Time does not exist.
No. How was your week this week, Miss Monica?
Pretty boring, like any other week. Kind of just kicking it at home, finding out teeth and, laughing at it. And then also, doing some, I don't want to say this and sound weird, but I guess self-reflection, and you know what? It's nice. It's really nice to take time to yourself and just be with you. I like it. It's nice.
I hanging out at my resort, which has been wonderful. I went on an island tour where I went snorkeling and I saw some clownfish in an anemone. Anemone. Also, last week I was really red because I was like 1,000,000 degrees. This week I'm just really red because I'm sunburnt AF. Because I like to do this thing where I put sunscreen on multiple times, but then I still forget that when you're snorkeling in the ocean, you're fucked.
Yeah, the water will reflect right back up on into you.
Yeah. It's not as bad as when I was in Bali. When I was in Bali and I went snorkeling with sea turtles, I literally had sun blisters on my back this big that were popping and leaking. Yeah, it was really, I just have sun blisters on my face that are popping and leaking this time, but they're way smaller and it's only my face. So not cute, but.
So much fun for you. I love that you're doing
Love
that.
it. But this week was a very good week. I got a lot of relaxing done. Got just chilled. And my best friend got engaged.
Woo-hoo! That's exciting.
So Brittany and Diavold got engaged, and I'm very excited.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was
Best
great.
Of luck to them.
And it is my little nephew, Jace. He's Mandy's son, the one whose wedding I'm going to be in. It won't be his birthday when this episode comes out, but it's his birthday today. He turns 3.
Oh.
So it's a good week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm still in my resort.
Your bungalow
Only till tomorrow though, and then I
go back
to Bangkok.
There you go.
And, but I still don't have to go back. I still don't have to go back to work till Tuesday.
Well, that's good. At least you have a day to recover.
Yeah, and it's I'm only an hour away, an hour and a half flight away, and my flight's at 1:30, so I'll get back to my apartment by 4 in the afternoon. So I'll still have dinner at home, so it won't be.
Yeah, at least you're not going to be rushing. You'll have a little gap day to just get adjusted to going from, snorkeling with clownfish to getting ready to go deal with children again.
On Tuesday when I go back to work, I'm teaching a cooking class and we're making pumpkin soup.
Ooh, that's yummy. It's slowly starting to get colder here. I am getting sadder as the days get shorter. But I helped Mom decorate for Christmas this week. So our house is a winter wonderland in the middle of November. But, to each their own.
I've been listening to a lot of Christmas music for no reason this week. So, I feel that.
I love that for you. I absolutely love that for you.
Although I did listen to some Hillary Duff today when I was sitting outside in the rain.
You're like,
It's like,
the only thing
let the rain come down.
I just have this visual image in my head of, you know, like that meme of that girl just laying in the middle of the street where it's like torrential downpour. I feel like that was you.
No, I was actually sitting on the edge of a pool in a tropical paradise in a slight drizzle. So not quite that.
Like that. But I will say for anyone who like doesn't like anxiety medication, me being one of them, I don't take it because I don't like how it makes me feel. Anyone who doesn't take anxiety meds but needs help, I highly recommend in the summertime. Not really, can't do it really much in the winter, but in the summertime, if a torrential downpour happens, you go outside, you put on one of your favorite like songs that make you feel like you're a main character in the story of your life, and you just fucking dance. You jam out, and you're like, I'm the main character. It gave me the most serotonin I had felt in a very,
I don't
very big.
I don't think that should apply to just people with anxiety. I think that that is like if just anytime it is raining, just go dance in the rain.
But it's, yes, because me and Mary Kate, anytime, because you obviously have the same memory that I do, when we would go out to Grandma Joe's and there would be a rainstorm, we would always like be like, "Can we go dance in the rain?" And we would dance in the rain on the sidewalk, and we
Um,
had to go lightning struck.
so you're a little younger than me, so you remember just wanting to dance in the rain. You don't remember the shenanigans that me and your brothers and my sisters would do. That was absolutely disgusting when I think about it now as an adult. But at grandma's at the townhouse that they lived in before they
Yes.
bought the house, how they're at the end of the big hill, we would go and lay in the parking lot next to the car tires so that when it flooded, the rain would come through the car tires and bounce and go a wave onto us and wash onto us. But it was nasty car tire water. And we would just lay in the parking lot and like get wave pooled with the car tire water. And Joy and Stanley just let us. They were like, okay, cool. But then we had to go to the back porch and wash and like rinse off before we came in the house. But yeah, we would just lay and get drenched by car tire water.
Jeez.
Like, I feel bad for kids now who like have technology as children because they never when like Pokemon Go was great for getting people to go outside, but when I was 12, we would just walk around with little plastic Pokeballs and pretend there was Pokemon and throw it at the tree and be like, Caesar, I too catch you. And we would just, there was no game, there was no real Pokemon, but we played Pokemon Go.
And you know what? Like that's like one of my favorite things that I'm like where I'm glad as to where I was. I was in like that really weird cusp where I'm like I got technology early, but not too early where it negated a lot of my childhood. Um, I was like one of those kids who like in the summertime, as soon as I'd wake up at like 11 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning, I would be like, okay, I'm going to hang out with my friends, and we would spend all day outside until those street lights came on, and that's when I was home.
I mean, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 14, and I didn't have texting until I was in college.
Like I had a phone when I was 12 because I like wasn't at the same building as my mom. Granted, I was right down the street, but it was just like just in case, here's your phone.
Yeah.
And but like even so, I used my phone for like ghost hunting outside. I, only people I texted was Danielle.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I didn't have texting until I was maybe a senior in high school, but I think I didn't get it till I was in college. I didn't have a smartphone until I was in college.
And that's where I'm like, I want my kids to go outside and make
Yeah.
mud suits and bring it to me and make.
I want my kids to think that the pool is a Pokemon gym.
Yeah, I want my kids to have a fun time outside. Like I think that's what, and like it makes you who you are. You discover a lot about yourself. Honestly, like
Also, be careful who your kids are friends with, though, because There are some weird people in that condo, in that building. We had a lot of friends in at grounds, but like some of them were really weird.
Yeah, I I just would like just like the summers at grandma's were probably some like are like some of my favorite things, and like that's kind of why I want like my mom and my stepdad to move eventually, so that like when I'm like in a cold climate, they can go like visit grandma for the summer and like have fun.
I
And
just this is gonna be I'm just getting real nostalgic for some reason today, but I still to this day wonder what happened to Blake.
like,
He was my first true love. He was my boyfriend one summer in North Carolina. He was the first boy I ever kissed. And Grandma was not thrilled about that. Made out with
probably
him on her couch, and then she lost her shit at me. I was 11. So,
understandable.
um, and then I never saw him again after that summer because they moved out of the townhouses. And the next summer, my friend who went to school with him said that he still talked about me all the time. But then the next summer after that was the summer that everything went bad.
Mhm.
Um, so then we didn't go down there for the whole summer again after. So I never saw him or heard from him again.
Well,
And he
Blake,
has a very generic name, so I can't even like find him on the internet because believe me, I've tried. But like Blake Taylor, not the most unique name. So Blake, if you're out there watching this podcast, which could you imagine the odds of that? But just wondering where you're at in life.
like a cute little fairy tale romance, because like I know we talk about me and you like behind the scenes. We'll talk about love a lot. And here's the thing. This might be your fairy tale ending that might come. You might have a digital fairy tale where it's like you find love in a pandemic all the way in Thailand, and he's like in
Your
freaking
brother
like,
was so mad because Blake gave me all his Egyptian god cards because he loved me instead of giving them to DJ, even though they were best friends. Because Yu-Gi-Oh was like a big deal.
oh yeah, I remember them playing it all the time. And then I remember Tyler tried to teach me once, and I'm like, bro, I'm 4. I don't know what's going on here. Cards look pretty though. Like love the cards. The aesthetic very nice, but I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
So
of not knowing what's happening, Hemlock Grove.
lovely segue, Mary Kate. I truly appreciate it. I genuinely do. I like how we can always segue from one thing to another. Very.
Well, if we could just talk about ourselves forever, we probably would. In fact, one of my best friends, shout out to you, Tyler, the legendary. He texts me the other day and goes, I really don't even like sci-fi, but listening to you and your cousin just talk about your lives makes my day all the time. He literally only watches the parts of our podcast where we talk shit and then just doesn't finish them.
Honestly, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I feel like a lot of those people are like, "Oh my god, we're so funny. We should totally start a podcast." I'm like, I wonder how many people actually enjoy the parts where we just randomly talk about our lives. And we get it. Like, I know Courtney has said that she likes those parts too, and now your friend Tyler. And I just feel like, shout out to you, Tyler. Welcome here. Hope you didn't click off yet, because I know we already said, well, on to Hemlock Grove.
I'll give him the timestamp of when we talk about him.
There you go.
Um, so we are on season 2, episode 4. It is called Bodily Fluids.
Which I was.
No, I know exactly why it's called that. I just don't like that term.
No.
I do not like the term bodily fluids.
It's something about, like, I don't have an issue with bodily. I don't have an issue with fluid separately, but together they have the same power as hearing the word moist, and I just don't like that.
See, I don't mind the word moist.
I do.
I don't. Sorry for anyone who respects me who's still listening to this podcast. I hate the word masturbation.
Yeah, I
Just the
don't.
word.
Yeah,
It's so ugly.
so ugly. So like, the reason why I don't like moist, it's because the people who say it in a really not safe for work context can very rarely pull it off in certain ways, so it just sounds uncomfortable. I'm like, don't
See,
say
but
that. Don't say it.
so Brent and I had this very long conversation one time about words that sound like what they are. Like
Mhm.
moist, you can feel it when you say it.
Yeah.
Soft. The word soft is soft. I like words that evoke what they are. Masturbation.
Nah. It should just be called like Total Fest or something like that. That evokes what that is. I am so sorry, family.
Yeah, but bodily fluids just, it reminds me of watching unsolved mysteries late at night or like true crime shows in the middle of the night and not really knowing what's going on, but just hearing like glimpses of things because you're not really awake.
Mhm. It's nice to know that I'm not the only person that falls asleep to like
Oh yeah, no.
ID channel. Like it's
Oh
really
my gosh.
comforting.
One time I was falling asleep watching I don't remember, some true crime something or other. And this guy got caught because he left his saliva on a Dairy Queen Blizzard spoon. And I was like,
Could
I
you
love,
imagine
I love
you
this.
a crime scene and you like take care of everything, but the reason you get caught is because of your saliva being on a Dairy Queen Blizzard spoon?
At the time, it was at the time that I was working at Dairy Queen.
Oh,
I
that's
was,
even funner for you.
I was like, we're good for something.
Yeah, we're good for serial killers before they murder someone. Love that. Oh, right after.
So Bodily Fluids premiered on July 11th, 2014, and it has a 7.6 star rating on the Young IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
Um, It was directed, oh, that was weird, sorry, by Floria Sigismondi, first female director of the show. She was born in Italy and she started as a fashion photographer and like moved her way into music videos. And she was known for having like super innovative, but like deeply disturbing music videos. And she like worked with Marilyn Manson and David Bowie and Bjork and Incubus. And like, so that's the level of like fucked we're talking.
I
Um,
love.
her She has not directed any other TV, or well, she has since then, but only a couple things, but she'd never done any TV before Hemlock Grove. The only non-music video thing that she had done before Hemlock Grove was that she directed The Runaways, which was the Joan Jett movie with K-Stu.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we're looking there. And it was written by David Paul Francis, who this man. He doesn't have a lot of directing credits. He only had one TV show before Hemlock Grove. He's primarily an actor, from what I can tell. He has way more acting credits than directing credits. In fact, he will be.
Do you mean writing credits?
No, acting.
I mean, no, you said.
Then writing. Yes, then writing. Sorry. He will be in the next episode of Hemlock Grove. Actually, he's going to be in the show. Um, I went on a spiral on Sir David Paul today because his IMDb bio does not have very much in it, except for it has his height. And it says that his height is 7'2" or 2.18 meters for my metric friends out there, which is hella tall. Also, he is of Indian descent. He is a brown man. Um, And I somehow was like, if there was a 7'2" brown man actor I feel like I would know.
Yeah.
So I was like, this can't be right. And I was like, maybe we'll just wait until next week when we see him on screen and see if he's really that tall.
Mhm.
But then it was just bothering me so much. So I Googled, how tall is David Paul Francis? And the first thing that came up after the IMDb page was a tweet from David Paul Francis that I will post on our Instagram, where he was baffled that IMDb says he is that tall. And he was like, man, if I was really 7'2", I could be in the NBA instead of the WGA, which is the Writers Guild Association, or the Writers Guild of America. So yeah, that's really, I didn't really do much work on what he wrote because I was just trying to figure out how he was so tall.
I feel like it's almost a dangerous game when Mary Kate falls into a spiral about this show. She always finds out something she doesn't want to find out, or always is like,
Yeah.
a random height. Deep dive now.
I should not be allowed to have the internet. In fact, I texted Monica and Courtney earlier this week in a group message and said, I need you to take the internet away from me altogether. Because while in one of my spirals and deep dives for no reason, I was like, I wonder if Roman and Peter have middle names because, that's important information. And I spoiled the end of the entire series.
I do not know any of it.
I did not share what I have found out. I will not share what I have found out because I don't want to ruin everyone else's lives the way I've ruined mine.
But at least you get to see everything unfold, and whether it's a good or a bad light, and you'll still know the outcome.
See, but knowing the outcome, I don't care about the show. Like I still do. I still have things that I need to know because I didn't find out like the plot of the entire last episode. I just found out one major detail, but this one major detail was enough to make me know that I'm not going to like it.
Great. I'm so excited to get my heart broken. But this week's episode, hold on, I am yawning. From last week's episode, I do think they did a pretty good job keeping the pace.
Do you have any new FX information?
No, but we're still dealing with the same people.
Okay, I just want to read the blurb before we keep on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Roman's hunger tempts him beyond his control. New evidence arises in the search for Shelley. Peter comes to the aid of a child in need.
Yep. And I feel like that's very this happens, and this happens. Congratulations.
Yeah,
and
some much better blurb writing than previously.
Oh yeah. Because it's very true. Where those things are very true, but they don't give away a lot of some of the big stuff, obviously, but giving you basically the information that's like, it's important because it makes sense for this storyline, but there's also a whole other storyline developing at the present moment. Like I said before, they really kept the momentum from last week's episode. Last week's episode brought a lot of questions, but still gave us some answers. This week gave us more answers rather than questions. Which I like.
I don't know. I still have questions.
I know I still have questions, but I feel like we're getting closer to some answers behind certain things. Price is still an enigma. I feel like will remain one of those characters that will be an enigma until.
Although he really wasn't in the episode much.
He was only in the first scene, and that was it.
Yeah.
I had. Yeah. Wait, no. Because in my note, I think I have down the scene. I think.
Yeah, no, he's only in that one scene.
But I genuinely believe that this episode did a good job at keeping that upscale pace of like we're into like this time last season, we starting to fall into a mid-season lull, and now I feel like we started off slow, but now we're gaining traction because this season's only 10 episodes, and we're and next week we're gonna be at the halfway mark.
Yeah.
So I feel like for us to for them, if they were to slow down now, would be very, very bad, I think, for this season.
Yeah.
And we're keeping up momentum. We're knowing things. It's intriguing. It's still kind of like a little at that rough patch. Where it's like I want to know more, but I think they're pacing it properly.
Yeah, I agree, except for on one part thing, and that is, spoiler alert, we still don't know anything about the cult. And that is starting to bother me. If we don't get more information about the cult next week, I'm going to be very put off
Yeah.
because everything else is starting to pick up. And even that is, Peter is moving in that direction, but we still, as the audience, don't know anything.
Mhm.
And if we're halfway through the season and the main mystery of the season has no information, that's disappointing.
And also, if Roman and Peter don't reconcile soon, I feel like the cult stuff won't, because I feel like each one of them has a half of the story. Each one of them has a half of what's going on. So it's like I feel like we won't know until they work together to be like, hey, and that once again will fall on Roman to let that happen. And it's nervous. It's gonna be nervous. And I'm like, we're hearing Peter's storyline, and then we have Roman's storyline, and Roman's dealing with his own demons. Um, so it's like there was I feel like a lot of stuff thrown into the season where I'm like I don't know how we're going to address every single thing coherently to get the characters where they need to be based on their own personal journey within 10 episodes.
I think season 2 and 3 are going to be way more connected to each other than season 1 and 2 were.
For sure. I think that's
Unless they just shit the bed and give us nothing.
which I would mean it wouldn't surprise me. Um I think maybe the cult might still be in play in season 3, and they might be planting it there where we're not going to get a resolution to the cult at in this
The
season.
problem with that is that they've built it up too much. Like if they were planting little seeds and then it was the major mystery in season 3, I would be fine with it. But there's no other antagonist in season 2. Like there's little mini issues. There's Roman figuring himself out. There's Linda being in jail. There's Michael being involved. Like there's little tiny pieces, but they've built up the cult and the dreams as such a major part of the arc that if we don't get information, I just will not be invested.
That's very fair. So hopefully the writers know what they're doing next week, or you'll have a very angry Mary Kate on your hands.
We will see. We start the episode off with these people talking about who cares? Literally useless. My note about this boy and girl, teenager in the woods said, who are these people and how long till they die? Because you never start off at a cold open with two characters that you don't know unless something tragic is going to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And something tragic did happen. Unfortunately, they did not die. But the girl goes off into the woods to pee, and she goes really far, like
She
unnecessarily far.
and like she's on a date with this guy, so she's clearly and they were about to like do some freaky shit in the woods.
Right, like,
so,
he's about to bone you. I'm pretty sure hiding your vajay is not the issue.
Exactly, like she went way too far deep into the woods in the middle of nowhere to pee for zero reason.
And so she finds a raccoon and she thinks it's cute. So she's videotaping the raccoon and trying to walk up to it and talk to it and touch it, which, like, don't do that.
I'm sorry, I've never
If
seen
you are in the woods at night and there is a wild animal, please, for the love of God, do not try to touch it.
Yeah.
Even if it does not eat meat, it will still hurt you.
Yeah. Just don't be an idiot. Just don't touch a wild animal.
So, dumbass goes to follow the raccoon, and it turns out there's a corpse covered in maggots.
Very yummy, very appetizing. Woo woo. Love it.
Credits.
And I was eating my dinner when I was watching this. And I was like, that was the first scene. I was like, and then like when you see something and like automatically everything like in your mouth feels like what you're looking at. And I was like, it felt like it because I was eating like okay, so like they're pizza rolls, but they're like taco instead, and just the texture of it was like making me, and I was like creeped out, and I still ate it because I was like, I had to like trick my brain. Like I was like, no, like you're eating the normal thing, like relax, calm down. It's not the end of the world. But I was freaking out, like what? Gross. Like
Yeah. So then, oh wait, maybe that wasn't the credits yet.
yeah, it was because then it goes back into the cops being there.
No, the credits are at the
Oh,
end of that whole thing. It's a long cold open.
oh yeah, that's right.
So then it's morning and the cops are looking at the dead body that they found and interrogating the couple who was on the date. And we see that the body is in fact Christina.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this until a later scene. Um, because in my notes it said, "Oh, someone found Christina," but I wasn't talking about the dead body because right before the credits do start, a flashlight that one of the officers are holding goes over to like a fur, and I was like, "Oh, they found her wolf." I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking retorted back to human form. Um, and from seeing the aftermath of that, I really don't know how Christina would come back. Still makes me sad that like we're amping this up and like left this at the end of of season 1 that she was still alive, and that Shelly like snaps her neck and rips her face apart and literally like 20 thing.
But I was thinking about this while I was watching it, and yes, because last week we were talking about how it would be disappointing if she really was dead and she didn't come back. But I do think that she was a very important story device because basically they had kind of given up looking for Shelley until this happened because the police think that Shelley robbed the grave.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though Christina is dead and we got the character back for nothing, we didn't really.
Yeah.
Because it reignited the search for Shelley, and so it was a huge plot driver. So I
That's
don't hate it as much as I thought I would.
the only thing that I kind of get scared about is that we have the wrong people look like. Granted, we do have Norman looking for her, but we only have Norman looking for her with some help from Roman. Like he's like, well, let me know, but he's not actively like pursuing it.
Well, but Roman is also not dumb, and he knows that he's not in a state to do anything. So if a professional private investigator is looking for her, it's better than nothing, and he's clearly not functioning very well.
No. Which we start off, and this is our first scene after the credits. We have Norman now is knows that Marie is missing, and he is not happy.
Before Norman busts in, there is something important that Price says. Price is talking to Dr. Chernobyl about these experiments that they're doing, and she's trying to, again, explain to him why it's not going to work out. And he said, but your subjects were human.
Mm.
So whatever he's doing, the test subjects are not human.
And he also had said in the longevity of what you guys were testing didn't matter to you as well.
Right. So whatever they're trying to do, so I don't know what the outcome is, but basically this thing that he's creating is not human.
Yeah, essentially.
So that was the only thing that was really important about that. Again, it was sciencey stuff that I didn't really know what they were saying, but it was important to know that whatever he's testing isn't human, which I don't know if it is like he's trying to recreate more up here. He's trying to make some kind of like meta. I don't know what he's doing, but not human.
And then after Price is talking to Dr. Chernobyl, Norman busts in, finds out that Marie isn't missing, and he says, "You mean to tell me Marie has a lawsuit with your name on it, and automatically a day later she goes missing?" And so they get a little bit into it, and he's like, "I assure you it wasn't me." He was like, he said, "I will tear down this building and everything inside of it." And he's like, "Well, if you do that, you might not like," and then Price tells him, he's like, "Well, if you do that, you might not like what comes crawling out of the rubble." And I was like, so does Mike, I'm like, does Price know about Marie? But he knows that it wasn't him, but he knows that Olivia did it?
I don't know, but I do know that if Norman really were to blow up everything that's really happening
Mm,
at Godfrey, Price obviously would be screwed. But you
yeah.
know who would be more screwed? Olivia. And that was kind of Price's gentle way of saying, if you care about Olivia, be
So,
careful what you go looking for.
yeah, pretty much.
So,
And And then after that scene of our only scene with Price this week, we go see our lovely boy Roman is on the phone with someone from Godfrey, demanding blueprints of the sub basement. Because
yes.
like there is some secret lab that I don't know about. And he's like, I want to know where it is. I want to see it. Show it to me. And while he's on the phone trying to get these blueprints, Miranda comes back from her hot, steamy night with our wolf boy Peter.
And Roman's like, hey, where have you been? You missed the dinner that I cooked. It was amazing. And I was like, Roman wants Miranda real bad. But
Yeah.
also, he would like to kill her. He's very torn right now.
Yes. And also, Roman is asking 1,000 questions like he's a father wondering where his daughter was all night. He's like,
I didn't feel like that at all. I felt like he was like a jealous boyfriend.
well, I should say jealous boyfriend, not a father wondering. But like he was like, so where were you? She was like, oh, I was out with a friend. He's like, oh, I didn't know you had friends here. And she was like, I didn't, but I met someone. She was like, he was like, oh, so you make friends quickly, huh? She's like, yeah, it's just. She's like, yeah, it's just like one of my traits. And like he keeps asking her 1,000 questions. I'm like, Roman, relax. Like, bring it down. Like he's just like question after question after question. And I'd be
But
like,
he's like doing it in like a way where he kind of seems like he's trying to flirt but doesn't know how because, you know, his only girlfriend in the past was his cousin. Um,
yeah, his cousin sister.
so it's awkward.
Then he starts to wanna on her
Yeah.
neck.
And
And I said,
then so then he runs out of the house because he's trying to not murder Miranda, and Norman is at the door, like about to come in, and he's like, hey, like, listen, Christina's grave was robbed last night and they think it was Shelley. So they're looking for her again, and that's when the whole conversation about the private investigator happens.
yeah.
Um,
And I think Roman obviously was not wanting Norman to be there. He's like, I gotta go, I have an important meeting. And he was like, oh, he's like, it's about Shelley. And then he like obviously stops because I think, and Roman was like, does Olivia know about this? And he won't even call her mom, mother, does my mother, does anything.
yeah.
Like he like completely like desensitized any part of her being a family member to him. I think as far as that he mentally could, because it doesn't have nothing to do with her. Like, I mean, he did kill her, so
True. True.
right. Like, I'm gonna bring back to life. Here you go.
Um, then we go to Destiny's house, and Peter is like calling a bunch of phone numbers to try to figure out where the plane is that the little kid is going to see in the sky. And then the house gets broken into by the two thugs who he sold the drugs to, and they're real pissed. And they start like yelling at him, and he's like, "Listen, I'm gonna be straight with you. I don't have that money. You can hit me all you want. I already paid the lawyer. I don't have the money. You're never gonna see it again."
Mhm.
So then they start like beating him up. But the problem is, the problem is that Peter starts to turn out of anger, which is not a good sign because he's not in control of his full abilities.
Yeah.
So he breaks one of the dude's noses and tells him to get the fuck out.
Mhm. And and then Peter, washes out his wounds with a bottle of vodka, and also he's just like, I'm gonna just drink from this bottle of vodka.
Well, he's
And
trying to calm himself down because he's
like
not.
and when he was he never fully phased or like fully changed, so he still looked like Peter, but his bones were cracking, and
And he
so
was
like
growling.
he was growling, and he got like super strength, and I bopped the one dude in the nose really hard, and then like
Oh my
grabbed him
God, but
by
it was really funny. He broke the dude's nose and the guy was freaking out. And then he pushed it back the other way and goes, "Now it'll feel straight."
yeah, and then he's like, no, get the hell out of my house,
Yeah.
and then they leave. And then we go back to Roman's house where Miranda is coming. Also, information from the last scene that Miranda and Roman had together. Her car is getting it's supposed to be done by the end of that day, and she's supposed to be leaving. So she's doing her laundry and everything, and she's in the laundry room getting all of her stuff together, and she can't find her one sock. And so she's like, she sees that the other dryer is going, and she sees like this pink fluffy
Like
blanket with like
baby blanket. Yeah.
a baby blanket on it. And she's like looking, and then like one of the butlers comes in with her missing sock, and they like have like a really weird like stare at each other, and then like the scene ends. But this is going to be a commonality for Miranda now, because now that she knows something's up, she doesn't stop looking in the most inconvenient places that her nose should not be in. And
Yeah, no.
I don't like
Not
it.
at all. Then we go back to the
We go to Godfrey now, where Roman is asking his receptionist
Oh,
for
yeah, sorry. And my note just said Roman is losing it, and I couldn't remember which scene it was because he loses it quite a few times in this episode.
Yeah, I said Roman is really struggling, and I wrote that down I literally have Miranda, you need to stop being sneaky written down at least 6 times, and Roman is really struggling down about 5 times, so.
Yeah, I think I wrote Roman is losing it at least 4 times. And I was like, wait, which one? Which time is this? Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's talking to his assistant or secretary or whoever, and he's looking at the plans, the blueprints, and the the sub basement 5 level is not in the blueprints,
Mhm.
which obviously it's not in the public blueprints because it's a pricey secret lab, duh. So Roman freaks out, smashes the tablet, screams at everybody, and like tries to eat his secretary for a second.
Can I just say one of my favorite lines that Roman said during this little outburst? I literally wrote it down. He's like, I'm running a business, not a daycare for fucktards."
I did love that line. He was like, I am running a business here, not a daycare for fucktards.
He's like, and that goes for any of you mouth breathers in here. And I was like, damn, Roman. Coming back with a 1980s slang for idiot. I love it.
Oh my God. I had to explain to some of my kids what a mouth breather was. Because in Minecraft story mode, they called someone a mouth breather, and I started cracking up, and my students were like, what? And I had to pause the movie and explain to my kids that sometimes some people are so dumb they don't even know how to breathe through their nose.
No.
Yeah. So then we go to Olivia, and I was very confused because Olivia's location did not make sense to me because it was a different part of the garden, and I was like, I don't know where we are.
Yeah.
Um, but Olivia is being visited by Sheriff Chasser. And Olivia is like, I'm sorry, like before you even ask, no, I have not heard from my daughter. I don't know where she is. I don't even know if she's alive. Like, let's not do this. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not here to talk about Shelley. I'm here to talk about Marie Godfrey. She's gone missing. And Olivia's like, oh, wow, that's horrible. Can't imagine. Why would she just leave?
And so he was like, when was the last time you had spoken to Miss Godfrey? And she was like, as you know, because why else would you be here talking to me about this? She stopped by yesterday.
Yeah.
And explained, he was like, well, what was the nature of your like conversation? And saying like, he was like, well, she was like upset about, Letha, and she lost her grandchild and her daughter, and like she was obviously upset and distressed, and
He's like,
she
did she
didn't.
tell you where she was going? And she's like, nope, she did not. That
And
one
they're
wasn't a
like,
lie.
no, it wasn't. And he was like, well, we found her car at a long-term parking spot, and the prints were like clean. It seems kind of weird for someone who's in a small town. And I'm like,
And Livy's like, yeah, that is super weird. I
couldn't tell you.
beats me.
Couldn't tell you.
Then, and honestly, like, as horrible as Olivia is, she's really good at getting her way out of things. She's been doing it for what, 800 years? So, like, obviously, she fucking finagled her way through the centuries. Duh.
Exactly.
So she knows what she's doing. But then Michael says that this is the second woman to go missing in the last 7 months, and brings up his sister. And Olivia makes what I believe is a fatal error for her. And she says that she never met Clementine.
Yeah.
Everything else that she did in that scene, she played it super cool. Everything about Olivia was as close, or about Marie was as close to true as it could be without obviously telling what actually happened. Everything she said about why it didn't make any sense for Clementine to be at the mill and how nobody goes there, like all of that was so accurate. But lying about having never met her is going to blow up in her face. I
Yeah,
just
because
know it.
she could have said, I met her one time when she was questioning Roman at my house, and that wouldn't have incriminated her in any way. For me to
Yeah,
not,
she could have said she came to the house while she was investigating the wolf attacks.
yeah,
Yeah, like lying about something that wasn't incriminating is going to incriminate her.
yeah,
It was
and that's
dumb.
where
Olivia
that's
is so cool and so collected all the time. To make such a dumb mistake made me very upset.
yes, and I think they did that on purpose because I think that is going to be something that blows up in her face, or they could just be saying, she'll get away with it because they only really met once, and because honestly, before they met once before the very end of season one, where she had to keep seeing her because she was, gonna kill her. So, because that was the one time that they met. So I feel like, and
Yeah,
then Michael, why'd you lie about it?
right.
She was talking to Roman, and I didn't even know it was her at the time. And even if that was the case, she could have been like, I saw about it in the paper. That's how I knew who it was, but I only had seen her once.
Um,
God,
the next scene is back at Roman's house, and Miranda My note says Miranda is going to get herself in trouble. She is just being a dumb. She
Yeah.
is sitting upstairs on the balcony, just like waiting for the butler to come out of the secret baby room.
Well,
And
she's that like that one painting, and it looks like she's trying
she's
to.
drawing. But the butler comes out and she's like, "So hey, is that where you guys keep the bodies?" And the butler just walks away from her. He is not having it.
No.
I was like, stupid.
Miranda's like honestly kind of stupid.
But she does in that moment memorize the sound of the keypad so she can sneak into the room later.
Yep. And I'm like, Miranda's just. I literally said, Miranda, stop being nosy, please. I was like, just stop it. Like, it's the reason why I don't like how she's acting. It's almost like she's in a way like, oh, I'm staying here, so let me like snoop around. Like, I get there's curiosity, but if there is a room with a padlock with a code to get into it, that really is none of your. It's not like you're going through like their medicine cabinet. You are going to a room that has a key code that you need to get into, and whether it is or not, guess what? You're supposed to be leaving that day. So why are you going to worry about if they are a serial killer or not when you know Roman ain't even home? One, and
Okay,
two, you're doing
but
a bit.
to play devil's advocate here, Roman's super sus.
Oh no, he's
Oh, no,
definitely
no, listen.
sus.
Roman's super sus. She saw a weird baby toy. And Peter has already warned her multiple times that it is not a good idea for her to be in that house. So, like, wouldn't you want to know?
Yes, but here's the thing. I wouldn't know. I would just been like, hey, remember when Peter said you can stay with me instead of Roman Godfrey? I've been like, okay. Very
Yeah, but
simple.
I bet the bed at Roman's was really comfortable.
But she also did say Norman, not Norman, Peter's bed was also really comfortable because her and her ex only screwed on a futon.
That's true, but could you imagine how comfortable the beds at Roman's house would be?
True. Also, yeah, I was gonna say, do Upiers sleep? But they do.
Yeah, because otherwise, how would he have weird dreams?
Exactly.
Speaking of his weird dreams, we go back to Roman and he's listening to some crazy loud rock music, trying to calm himself down. And then the
And
head
then,
of HR comes into his office and says,
and
"Hey, buddy, what you did earlier, it's kind of fucked. A lot of people are not very happy. And we have a mandatory de-escalation period, so you gotta go." And he's like, "Are you telling me I need to go home?" She's like, "Nope, I'm not telling you need to go anywhere except out of this building."
mhm. And honestly, I have a note that's written down that says, Roman really always has like dope ass music playing. Like he always has good music playing.
And then I got
And
really nervous that he killed her for a second.
yeah, because he was like sniffing her neck.
He was sniffing her neck, and then it just cut away from that scene. And I was like, "No, please don't kill the HR lady. You can't be so dumb that you would kill the HR lady in the
Yeah,
office."
yeah. With glass doors.
Right, which I don't think he did. Because
No.
then he was still losing his ever loving mind when he left. And he was like drooling at a butcher shop and staring at a homeless man's bloody lip and like just like straight losing it until the point where he literally breaks down crying.
Yep. Roman's just like not like when I say Roman is really going through it this episode, he is.
Like I literally just wrote, he is not okay.
He um like his vision's all wanky because of the fact that he's like lusting after blood but can't get it or doesn't know how to get it. And like everything is setting him off. So he's just like Mary Kate said, really just going through the motions.
Yep. Then Peter finally gets a hold of somebody who has a plane and he goes to the hangar to find the plane. But then he looks at the time and realizes he's too late and he has to go save the little boy right now. So he does. He swoops in, he stops the tow truck, the masked guy has to turn around, he saves the little boy, nobody's dead. Yay! And then the mom is like, oh my God, thank you, you saved my son, that's wonderful. And then Peter's like, you need to leave town. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, shoot, because mom goes, I don't know how that guy didn't see him. And Peter's like, no, he did. He was trying to kill him. Someone is trying to kill you and your son, and you need to get out of here. And he's raving like a lunatic, and the mom's starting to freak out. And then Peter says, what I feel like should be said more often in moments like this. He says, the one thing that makes sense. Either I'm completely right and you're in danger because there's no way I could know any of this and you need to leave. Or I'm completely crazy, off my rocker, psychopath, but I know where you live and you still need to leave.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, Peter, you need a real, like, that's a fair thing to make because, I mean, we find out that ultimately he gets what he wants and they end up leaving. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert. I feel like Peter is also on a watch list because the last time he was in town, girls got butchered. He's back and now this stuff is happening. And I'm like, honey, you might want to like not put all the heat on you right now.
Well, and I mean, Jesse's been saying that the whole time, like, don't get involved, but like,
We all know
he
that.
gets, he gets involved.
Also, everyone who's watching, I'm taking my eyelashes off. I slept in them and they're bothering me. Anyway.
I hope that this recording is not picking up how loud the party that is happening at the villa next door to mine is, but it is, I'm not happy.
I can't hear. I didn't know there was a party going on.
It has been so peaceful here all week. But this weekend, because I had work off all week, but this weekend is an actual holiday in Thailand. So now that it's the weekend, there are more people out. I don't like neighbors.
I don't blame you.
Um, anyway, then we go to Norman's office where Michael is interrogating him about Marie and somehow thinks that maybe he had something to do with it. And Norman's like, listen, she hated me and she deserved to hate me. But she forgave me because she's a good person. She's a wonderful person. She sees the good in everybody. Like, why on earth would I hurt her? I truly believe that Johan Price is responsible for this. And Michael's like, nah, bro, we like watched the security at the White Tower. He never left. And Norman's like, yeah, because he would have done it himself. Of course not. Like, he hired someone. And he's like, well, did you know that she was with Olivia yesterday? And Norman's like, I'm sorry, who? What? And Norman's now not thrilled that Olivia is being sus. So there's that.
Yep. And then we go over to back to Roman's house, and Miranda is there, you know, packing up her bags, getting excited to go, but then finds out that the alternator in her car, is the right word, alternator? Yeah.
Yeah, something. Who knows? Who cares?
The alternator for her car was on back order in Philadelphia, so they had to wait for it to come in. And so she's like, well, damn it, just let me know when it gets ready. And then they get a knock on the door from this woman who's like, can you like sign this petition so that like everyone has to get like a permit for like a handgun in Hemlock Grove? And as she's saying this, there's like a shotgun that's like pointed outward. That's like this picture of one out from the wall. And then she like looks at it and she's like, Miranda's like, yeah, sure. And she signs it.
Yeah. My note says weird lady is weird
Yeah.
because she's
And
like, she's got a stop the violence button and like a hat. And she's like, we don't want guns in our neighborhood. Oh my gosh, honey, it's okay. It happened to me all the time. And like, she's just like, I guess she's a normal human being, but like, I didn't like
yeah, because everyone in the show is not normal. So to see someone who's actually normal be integrated with not normal characters, it's like the theory me and you were talking about earlier. When chaotic seems normal, normal seems crazy.
Yeah, I didn't like
And
it.
but then Miranda's tatas are leaking some shit. Her shirt is wet right by her hip now. And so she's like, "Well, damn, what the hell's going on here?" Why? I'm like, she
Right. My notes literally say, weird lady is weird. What's with Miranda's nipples?
Yep. Um. So then, I'm trying to figure out what my next note meant.
The next thing that happens is that Peter gets pulled over
Oh, mind
and
you, he calls Miranda first,
oh
and
yeah, he
he's like,
calls Miranda and he's like, hey, my life's kind of a disaster. I need to have like a drink or seven. Do you want to come over? And she's like, nope, bye, hangs up.
and then like Peter's like, and he like throws his phone. I'm like, oh, he's getting attached. He's getting attached to the drifter in town. This isn't good for our young Romeo.
And then he gets pulled over and he gets detained in jail because he scared the lady and her son so bad that they ran away. And we learned that Michael Chester is, according to my notes, a giant dick.
Yeah, he was like, um, he's trying to explain. He's like, she went over 50 miles to warn a woman you never met that her life was in danger. He's like, I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Like,
Yeah.
listen. And he was like, then he starts to like walk away. He's like, well, your mom's Linda Romancic, right? And she's in prison. And he was like, that. He's like for petty stuff, and he's like, we're getting that taken care of. And he was like, well, I guess the rotten apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
And then he's like, it's like, have you been around Roman at all since you've been back in town? And then he's like, yeah, after all the girls died, you disappeared. I guess you're pretty good at disappearing. And he's like, just being a straight dick.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, Michael, first of all, his girlfriend died. He got depressed and left with his mom. Like, when everything that, like, what would, like, if your sister died, you're trying to find her murderer, but if she had died in a traumatic way that there wasn't a cause for her to look for it, and she died in, like, birth, as far as Peter knows, you'd want to get away probably from that area, too.
Yeah, I just was not thrilled about that. And Peter's basically like, you can't keep me here if you're not charging me with anything. And he literally, although this line was funny, he said, I can hold you for 24 hours on suspicions of being suspicious. So get comfortable. And I was like, if I wasn't mad at you right now, that'd be funny.
Yeah. And after, after we get to, after this scene with Michael, we go to see that the people that Peter kind of messed up are back at their apartment talking about how they didn't get the money. And the head honcho of this like drug dealer thing um is sitting in their room watching like old Looney Tunes.
It's not
Well,
Looney Tunes. It was like 1930s Disney animation. It was the Big Bad Wolf.
oh, I didn't know that. I just saw cartoons. So I was like Looney Tunes.
Don't worry,
Uh,
I know my 1930s Disney animation.
and he's sitting there and he was like um he was like, so you got that my money shoved up your bungholes is what he liked to say. And they're like, no. And he was like, well, take off all your clothes. And they just start
Literally,
laughing.
my only note for this scene is why does he want them naked?
I just said it, I said this drug dealer's kind of whack. And then he like cocks his gun and he's like, I said take off your clothes. And then they start taking their clothes off, but we don't see that. Then we go to not Roman, Norman, and I just have Norman is going through it, but I'm not quite sure as to what scene that is.
He is emailing Shelly again
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
because my note says, does Shelly get any of Norman's messages? Like, I wonder if she can even get them because he's sending her all these long messages and he's like really emotional and he's like, I miss you. Like, just come home. I can protect you. Like, I don't even know if you're still alive, but like sending you these messages is the only way I feel like you still are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to Shelly, and she's in her basement with her little friend, and there he's doing magic tricks.
Of like taking off his finger, but
And
not taking off his finger.
and um he plays pretend to take off his finger. So Shelly responds by ripping off one of her fingers, giving it to him.
He's like, "Cool, can I have it?" And I was like, "Stop."
So weird. But he's like, my grandpa taught me that trick. I miss my grandpa. Do you have a grandpa? And Shelly starts to cry. And he's like, do you have a mom? Do you have a dad? Like, do you have anybody? And she's just like, no, I don't know one.
Hmm.
And she looks like she's trying
Talk.
to talk, to say something. I think she wants to say she has a brother, but she can't talk.
Mhm.
So she just cries. And then the little boy's stepdad, now they have not actually made this clear that it is his stepdad, but based on how he was talking, I assumed it was his stepdad, because this drunk guy is standing outside yelling, and he's like, hey Jason, your mom's had dinner on the table for 10 minutes, and he's yelling, and he's like your stereotypical drunk stepdad.
Mhm.
But we learned that the little boy's name is Jason.
Yeah, and also
And he
that
tells Shelly, I'll save half my supper for you.
he owns my heart. When I say this child is the only thing that makes me happy, along with Shelly. And speaking of which, I have a note, which scares me because I was like, oh shit, he's a little child. And for some reason, the cult likes to kill them. So, damn it. I'm like, if this little boy dies, watch, this is how we're going to find out about the cult. That something's going to, like, Shelly's going to see the kid almost, like, die. And then she's going to, like, come out of the woodwork and then, like, snap them in half.
Yeah, if they kill Jason, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm going to write a very long note to the creators of the show and go, what the absolute fuck? Rude.
Then we
Gets to probably the most spicy scene in this. Like, I should say spicy just before, because Olivia has a lot. She's carrying a lot of audacity in this scene, a whole lot of audacity. And she said,
the
"Want to see the full of audacity? I can't believe that I have it." Because like,
so Norman comes to Olivia, and she's lounging on the bed, and she's like, "Oh, I've missed you so much." And he's like, "I had a bad day." He starts telling her about his bad day, and she's like, "Yeah, so?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, Anne Marie's missing." And she was like, "Yeah, I should have told you that she came here, but I didn't." And he was like, "Why didn't you tell me that?" And she was like, "She was saying horrible things about you." She said, and he was like, "What is she going to say that's horrible about me? That I'm a cheater?" Great, I knew that. She was like, "No, she said that you killed Letha." And he like collapses. And he's like, "Marie wouldn't blame me for that. Like, she wouldn't say that." And she's like, "Why would I lie?"
and now mind you, as she's saying like, "Why would I lie?" She's getting uncomfortable. Like, she's getting like real close to Norman, like starting to kiss him. And she's like, "I just want to make you feel better." And it's like, you know what? It's time for the Gluck Gluck 9000, because that's what's gonna happen. That's unbutton his pants, and then that cuts away, so we know that she's like, yeah, I murdered your wife. You don't know it yet, but let me like suck your ding dong real quick. That'll make all your problems go away.
Is
Like,
it
what?
horrible that my first thought when she started to unbutton his pants was, how is she going to do that if her tongue's still messed up?
I didn't even think of that. I think she's tried before, and Norman's like, no, that's different now. Because it can't be the same. There's stitches on her tongue. Well, we're gonna go to jail. Anyway.
Yeah, so then the next scene, we go back
To our drug dealer
farm.
friend. Yeah.
And my only note for the scene is that Beaumont is a sick fuck.
Yeah, so the drug dealer, he's like no, the two dudes are naked and bound
They're
with their
hogtied.
hogtied with their backs facing each other. And he's going to this long thing, and we see him pulling like this stuff out, pouring stuff like this liquid into a glass, and there's like these rubber bands in this glass, and this machine thing, like this hand thing. Apparently, he's going to he's like, I believe in second chances. He's like, but here's just what this thing does. You
Hey,
put it on.
Beaumont is not only a drug dealer, he's also a farmer. And on the
Yes.
farm, he occasionally has to neuter some of his male animals.
Mhm.
And he
He's
has
like,
chosen to replicate that process,
yeah, and
which
his is
I
like
don't know
he's
how much you know about the castration of farm animals, but it's not a pleasant experience for the animal.
no. And the thing is that he's like, I see those who are unfit to breed. He's like, and I make that decision. He's explaining how it happens and what will happen to them. He's like, but I believe in second chance. I was like,
Yeah, so he's like, I'm only gonna like ruin one of your testes, not two.
but here's the one thing that I, from the scenes with the drug dealers, both scenes, um, he, I feel like the drug dealer isn't going to go after Peter anymore because he was like, well, he's a gypsy. That's what they do. He's like, it's like trying to blame a dog for licking his own ass.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he's not going to go after.
Except for the fact that they've spent way too much time on this storyline. Like they have given us way more time with these guys than is necessary. This sick man is going to be a bigger problem.
Unless he's part of the cult.
Who knows? Um, but yeah, he turns up the volume on the wildlife documentary that is on the TV so that as he is attaching rubber bands to these man's nut sacks, a lion is roaring and a zebra is dying, and that's what you hear instead of the man's scream. It's not cute.
And then we go back to Romans, where Miranda's looking at her boobs, and she's like, "Let me take out my nipple piercings real quick and put them in my ears without washing them, without anything." She doesn't sanitize them, and also, how are her nipple gauges the same as her ear piercing gauges? Because they're a different size gauge needle for each. So like, how is that? What can you wash them first? I
Yeah.
got like little milk on. Blech! Sorry, that's nasty.
But yeah, so Miranda is lactating, which she's very confused by because she's not pregnant or just gave birth to a child. But you can lactate without being pregnant or having given birth to a child. It happens in about 20% of women. It actually can occasionally happen to men too. Um, it normally only happens if there's some kind of hormonal imbalance, like a medication messing with you, or some kind of tumor on your glands. But it is possible to lactate without having given birth. But this show is probably not going the scientific route of the ways in which you can non pregnancy lactate, and are more going the supernatural route of there's a psychic baby in the house, so clearly your nipples will just start leaking.
Yeah, and Miranda once again is nosy. She goes upstairs and she figures out what sound she heard last time, punches in the entry, and just sees the baby.
Now, weird thing, real weird thing about the scene, when Miranda walks in, the baby's eyes go back to a normal color.
And the baby stops crying and she starts giggling.
Yeah. But that bright, bright blue that we were talking about, how it wasn't normal, disappears when she sees
Yeah.
Miranda.
And
Sorry, what?
yeah, and after Miranda sees this baby, we go back to Roman, and we knew that last we saw him, he was really going through it. And guess what? He still is. He's waiting out in that corner where that homeless man was begging for money. And he was like, he followed him to like basically where it's like this like little village where a bunch of homeless people live.
Yeah.
And um, he follows him to there and he asks him, he's like, "Do you have a kid? He's like, do you have a family?" And he's like, what the hell do you want? Blah blah blah. And he's like, no, like, do you have a kid? I want to make sure that like, I want to help them out. And then he's like, yeah, her name's like something something. She lives in Philly. And he's like, okay. And then like bites on his neck, but then he starts to wake people up in the homeless shelter.
Yeah, and
And
he's
then
screaming, so all the other homeless people come out and they're freaking out. So Roman does the one thing that, on the one hand, it was very smart because it did distract the homeless people. He threw a F ton of cash in the air because they all obviously went after the money and not him. But also, Michael sees him leaving, hears all the screams, and somebody's going to be able to trace that money.
yeah.
My literal note for that whole thing is, well, gets himself caught like a dumbass.
Yeah, I said that really wasn't smooth, Roman. And
Um, but then he goes home and he's trying to clean up the blood and he sees Miranda's bags on the stairs, but she's not down there. And I wrote, cool, everybody's getting themselves caught today. And he goes upstairs where she has left the door open to the baby room.
literally a dumb.
Just everybody's done. Everybody's done this episode. So he walks into the baby room and
Breastfeeding the psychic alien baby. And the baby is passed out. She's
sleep,
finally
just like so calm and serene. And Roman's like, what the fuck are you doing in here? And Miranda's just like,
like facial expressions at the very end of the show, I feel like represent literally how I felt the whole episode. They're both like, oh fuck. Like they both
like I don't, words,
words are not computable at the moment.
And that's how the episode ends.
Yeah. And so yeah, this week was it was still very good. I liked it. I liked last week more, but I don't think this is a bad episode. Like I said, momentum's still
Yeah.
going.
Mostly I'm just mad that everybody's dumb.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We're gonna talk about who we're gonna punch in the face. And you wanna know who I'm punching in the face this week? I'm punching Miranda because it's like where Roman and Peter and Olivia have it's in their own narrative where they're being stupid and it's like something that they've already done and they're trying to cover up for something that they've done where it's like she could completely avoid this situation by leaving
Yeah.
and like staying with Peter instead, but she's actively chosen this and she's like, let me be nosy instead of just getting the fuck out when when she has an option to be somewhere else.
I'm gonna punch Michael.
Fair.
Because he was just rude.
Fair. That's very fair. Who saved your ass this episode? We're gonna do it.
I'm torn. But I think I'm gonna pick Norman.
Norman.
Because his letter to Shelley, and he's just going through it, and he's just trying to figure out.
Nothing. Like, he's still one of those characters who's still very obliviously out of everything that
But the thing is, he's not. He knows about Peter. He knows about Christina and Shelley. He knows what really happened, and he's trying to make sure that he's the one who finds. We also missed a scene. We skipped a scene where Norman is making like missing persons flyers for Marie, and he calls the PI that he has working on Shelley and asks the PI to also look into finding Marie. So they're gonna figure out what happened.
Yeah. And so my saving grace this week, honestly, is little Jason.
That's who I was torn between, Norman and Jason.
Jason's out here saying, I'm gonna save my supper for you, Shelly. I'm gonna show you magic tricks. I'm gonna want to keep your weird decomposing dead person finger. Like, yes, I love you, Shelly. Because that's the only person Shelly has at the moment. And
Yeah,
it's just not.
that's true.
And, I feel as long as Hemlock Grove, whether the storyline can be stupid, but at least if we're getting information out and hopefully we'll know more about the cult next week. If it keeps going the way that it goes, I don't think I'll be completely irritated
Yeah.
at the
Things I would like to see happen. Obviously, I need more information about the cult. Um, I would like to see what happens if Norman's PI finds Marie. And I would like Shelley to be reunited with her brother.
Yes.
Those are my big things that I would like to see happen.
Same here. Same here. My only thing is if we ask for the cult to be talked about, what's going to happen when the cult comes into play? That's the thing that scares me because right now, yes, things are moving along, but it still feels like the thing that we're going to be halfway through the season next week, and we're at this point in the story with so much still left to be explained.
Right.
5 episodes after that, I don't know how the hell they're going to pull off. That is my
Yeah.
biggest.
Yeah, that's also my biggest concern.
So there's a lot of loose ends that need, I think, to start to come together next week, and if they don't, I feel like it's going to derail how the rest of the season is going to go.
Yeah, the pace of the last 2 episodes has been really nice, but at this point, there's so many threads that they need to start pulling stories together.
Yes. And I think Roman and Peter need to start getting together. I feel like Jason's gonna have a lot to do with it. I think Jason might be one of the targets. And then
Yo, if they kill Jason,
here's the thing. Peter's obviously going to see that he might be one of those targets and might be able to.
But every victim so far, oh no, never mind. Because they've been targeting single moms and kids, but that's not true because the first family that we saw was a whole family.
Yeah. And so I feel like Jason will be a possible victim, but Peter and Roman are going to get a vision of it, and they're going to work together, and then they're going to end up finding Shelly because Shelly literally lives in the house underneath next door. Like Jason might be our little thing to get them together.
I like that theory.
Because Shelly might, end up hearing or seeing something because it might happen in the house that she's in, and they end up going into the house and they see Shelly being there. I don't know, but I feel like that's a possibility to get Shelly back.
Also, I would like Roman and Miranda to not do it by bonding over the baby.
Yeah, because poor Peter.
And on that note, if you have theories or questions or concerns, you can send us feedback at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at deathandaliens. You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Castbox, Overture, I don't know, literally anywhere. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ENKAY_superstar.
And you can find me on Instagram at monica.lynn_ and on Twitter at mon_lynn_.
And what day does this episode come out?
It'll be a week from tomorrow. So,
I hope everyone had a lovely Thanksgiving, because this will come out after Thanksgiving.
Yep. And then make sure you eat all turkey because I like ham.
Don't worry, in the episode that you watched last week that came out before Thanksgiving, I'm crying about turkey, so.
Yeah. I just want ham.
All right, anyway.
And bread.
We will see you next week. Because I don't think you want to hear anything more about food at this point. You probably ate so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, bye.